Welcome back to another video on the channel. This 2020 French Open final to be played between Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal is for me the biggest match of tennis calendar now. I got up this morning and I've wrote up a few key points that I think could be the difference between both players winning and interesting battles what I think will take place in the match. So I thought I would talk you through them. First off, just looking at a few stats. Obviously Novak Djokovic has won 17 Grand Slam titles and he would become the first player to ever win all 4 Grand Slams twice if he was to win on Sunday. The world number 1 and Rafael Nadal, world number 2, has won 19 Grand Slam titles and he would equal Roger Federer on 20 and win his 13th French Open title. Djokovic has won 14 out of the last 18 meetings. The last time Rafa beat Djokovic at a Grand Slam was 2014 French Open, and since then Djokovic has beaten Rafa at the French, Wimbledon and Australian Open. Rafa dominates the clay head-to-heads, but the last 8 meetings are actually 4-4, so it's pretty close. But yeah, the stats I believe are 29 to 26 in favour of Nadal in the 55 meetings that they've had. So it's been a brilliant matchup throughout their careers. They both pushed each other's careers to new levels, and I'm sure we'll have another epic final on Sunday. So first off, talking about the physicality of both players and the fitness coming into the final. I think both players have incredible fitness. We've seen in the past that they've battled for 5 hours in Grand Slam finals, usually against each other. But that's when they're on the peak, on the back of full seasons. We've had a 6-month break from tennis, competitive tennis, which will have affected all players, no doubt, some more than others. It's very unusual to have 6 months off without competitive tennis, unless you're injured. It very rarely happens, obviously. Rafael Nadal's cruise through the tournament so far. I thought he showed slight signs of fatigue towards the end of the Schwartzman match, but overall hasn't lost a set yet and has been in very good form for the opposition that he's been up against. Djokovic's style is draining, to play against. He's moves the ball from side to side, he's got the drop shots, the extra ball he gets back to make you play even longer rallies. We saw that with Tsitsipas that Stefanos done incredibly well to come back in the 3rd and 4th set, but he had nothing left in the 5th. And Djokovic just saps the energy out of you. And you've got to be in absolute 100% peak physical condition to beat Djokovic over 5 sets. I think Nadal brings experience and with a game plan and a will to win, defend his crown at the French Open. I don't expect fitness to be a big problem. We've seen Rafa before, the fight that he's got, probably the best fighter and comeback king that we've ever seen in tennis. He always gets energy from somewhere and he does have incredible fitness that I'm sure will still be there on Sunday. So I don't think, although he's probably at his peak physical condition, I don't expect fitness to be a huge problem for Rafa on Sunday. For Djokovic, he's cruised through until the injury problem against Pablo Carreño Busta in the quarter-final. Thankfully there was no signs that against Tsitsipas. Like Rafa, Djokovic's fitness is incredible. Built up over the years, and when you win slams in 4 or 5 hour battles, which both Djokovic and Nadal have done, I think that sort of inspires you, and you look back on those win experiences and see what you got from doing battle over 4 and 5 hours, and it all makes it worth it. Djokovic looked fresh in his 5th set decider against Stefanos Tsitsipas. I expect both to be great physically. Slight edge towards Djokovic due to the fact he's played more tennis this year and had more competition. When Djokovic played 5 sets against Tsitsipas, it sounds as if he's played for 4 or 5 hours, but it was actually 3 hours 45, and I think Rafa played just over 3 hours against Schwartzman, so there's not much difference between the time spent on court in the semi-finals. But yeah, both players got incredible fitness, and I don't expect either to break down on Sunday in a final of this magnitude. Moving on to the serves, in previous years we've seen Rafa, be very, very consistent on the first serve and utilise the spin on clay at the French Open. Then back it up with the forehand in the open court. 1-2 punch, his speciality, and he wins points very quickly and very easily for Rafa. For Rafa, I think it's important that he gets in the forehand early, uses that 1-2 punch, hits clean winners, and gets a forehand into rhythm as soon as possible. I don't think Nadal's serving as well as he has done in previous years, and spin isn't as big of a factor. That'll allow Djokovic, who's undoubtedly the best return in the world, to get into points, push Rafa deep, make rallies neutral. I thought Schwartzman took advantage of that very well, which is why he broke Rafa's serve 4 times. With Rafa not getting too many free points or too many short balls on the forehand to follow up with, it allowed Schwartzman to get neutral in the rallies, and Schwartzman doing very well in the longer points and broke Rafa's serve 4 times. It's very unusual to not see Rafa dominating on serve. We very rarely see him broken at the French Open. I think he must be aggressive whenever possible. Any short ball, I think he's got to take in the forehand and just rip it. Try and get Djokovic on the back foot defending, and put away down the line. It's Rafa's speciality, and I think he's got to do that from the get-go on Sunday. I expect Rafa to use the kick serve at times, try force Djokovic to hit the loop and short balls, which Rafa can no doubt take huge advantage of. Moving on to Djokovic, he's a different player when he serves well. We know how frustrated he gets when he misses the first serve consistently. Off the first serve, he constructs the point so well due to his hitting his forehand and backhand. Cross court or down the line, he's as good going either way. He's so open to any shot that as soon as he does get the short ball or a ball down the line, he's very good at redirecting the player or opening up the court with his forehand or his backhand, as I say, down the line or cross court. He's comfortable either shot. I think his second serves will have to be attacked by Rafa. The run around forehand back behind Djokovic is a tactic that I think could work. It certainly worked very well for Tsitsipas against Djokovic from set 3 onwards, to go back behind the Djokovic serve off the return. I think could be a key shot for Rafa, and Rafa has to take on the Djokovic second serve for me, attack the forehand, across court and down the line, and look to put Djokovic under huge pressure on serve. Djokovic, when he gets his first serve in, he's very difficult to beat in service games. Moving on to the change-ups, we usually see Rafa bully opponents from the back of the court, just smashing forehands and double-handed backhands from side to side on a slow, heavy court. Against the best defensive player in the world, it's difficult to hit clean winners and not make too many unforced errors that'll give Djokovic points in games. I think Rafa might have the better of the rallies, in the first set or two. Over the distance though, once Djokovic's depth and return of serve gets consistently better, I expect Jotterbridge to be favourite in rallies and take over the distance. I think Rafa has to try and keep the point short in this one. Use the drop shot, volleys around the net. I think is Nadal's one of his strongest suits. Djokovic nailed the drop shot yesterday, very effective. We know the drop shot, Sophia Kennan's used it a lot, Djokovic has. Very effective on a low bouncing heavy court. It's down to who executes it and who goes for first in rallies. We haven't seen Rafa use the drop shot too much, but perhaps it's a secret weapon for the final, who knows. But yeah, I think Rafa needs to try and keep the point short, use the drop shot, get in and around the net. We know how good he is at volleying. And probably the most interesting battle and the biggest one for me is the Djokovic backhand versus the Nadal forehand. Two of the best and most reliable shots in history. Djokovic is double handy, he can bank on painting the lines and rarely breaking down. Nadal's forehand is the greatest forehand ever, in my opinion, in the sport. Has just a wonderful technique that you can watch for hours and hours and just hit thousands and thousands of winners off that forehand. And one forehand can sort of transform Rafa's whole mood. We've seen it before in the past where he might be having a bad game or a bad set, and one forehand down the line that he hits at 95 plus mile an hour can just sort of transform his whole mood and kick him into gear. Djokovic likes to go cross court with the backhand, and that's tend to what he plays in that shot. But Djokovic going cross court with the backhand opens up Rafa's forehand into the vacant space, which is very, very risky. I expect Djokovic to use the down the line punch and the drop shot more often on the backhand on Sunday. Any neutral position or short ball, as I've said, I think Rafa has to go really big in the forehand, and that's a shot that's going to win him the final if he does. I think Rafa has to find the forehand early, time it early, be aggressive, and there's no doubt that if Rafa's forehand's firing on Sunday and he can get on it consistently, that it could win him the final, no doubt. So the final verdict, two of obviously the greatest players ever. Nadal, 12 French Opens, 19 Grand Slam titles, a chance to level Roger Federer. Djokovic can close the gap, be the first player to ever win all slams twice. I'm not really a big believer of King of Clay, although Rafa fans will know that, and Rafa will know that himself. He won't defend his crown. The title is in the air on Sunday once they both step on court. It's a new match in new conditions. History doesn't really matter when the match starts. Nadal's already had a great event, when you consider the conditions he's up against, very different to what he likes. Circumstances of the whole year, having that long break. He'll have to bring his A game on Sunday, and with such little practice against top 10 players this year, I'm not sure he can sustain for long spells a level that can beat Djokovic personally. In a 3-set match, no doubt, but over 5 sets, it's going to take a monumental effort for anybody in the world to beat Djokovic. And Rafa hasn't beaten a top 10 player this year. He hasn't played enough tennis or a good enough prep event for me. But if anyone's going to upset the odds and fight for every single ball and fight to defend his crown that he's had 12 years, then it'll be Rafael Nadal. Djokovic had just a fantastic season, lost one match, the disqualification against Pablo Carreño Busta in the US, won the Australian Open, obviously won the final, is in the final in Paris. He's won the most Masters titles now in history after beating Schwartzman in the final of Rome, passing Rafa's previous record, no surprise there. The first serve, I believe, is key in this one. For Rafa, he has to get the first serve in, look to get the short ball in attack. And for Djokovic, as I've said before, we know well he constructs points and holds serve if he does make the first serve consistently. The difference for me, I just think Djokovic's all-round game is rock solid at the moment. He has all the variations he needs. He's confident in every single stroke. His recent head-to-head against Rafa will give confidence, and the conditions too. Djokovic knows this is a great opportunity to do the hardest thing in tennis, which is to beat Rafael Nadal at the French Open. So my final prediction is Novak Djokovic to win the 4 sets, but I think it'll be an epic final that could be decided on a few points. Really, whoever plays the best tennis at the biggest moments will probably win the match. But I have to stick with Djokovic. I am doing a live text commentary of the match on Grand Slam Tennis Online, so I will leave a link to that in the description below if you want to follow it on Sunday from 2 PM in the UK. I will be talking about the women's final and leading up to the men's final on my Twitter account if you want to follow that as well. I'll leave a link to that. Enjoy the final. Thanks for watching the videos to whoever has this week. I'll probably be back later today for a review of the women's final. So please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.